Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it through another week. Today's Friday. So, good morning. Welcome to my kitchen. And as you've seen from my thumbnail, we're going to be talking about some bread. And yeah, I've got some flyaway hair. It's all right. Granny's got it pulled up. It's out of my way. So, let's get started this morning. As you've seen from my thumbnail, it's making bread or baking bread. And what tools do you need to make your bread and to bake your bread? So, and then how exciting, today's day 5 of our sourdough starter. We started our sourdough starter on Monday. And we started that from scratch. And today's day 5, and we're going to be able to put it in the refrigerator today. So, amazing, awesome. We have now our sourdough starter, which is a natural yeast for making sourdough, and it's ready for the refrigerator. So let's get started. So again, happy Friday. Welcome to my kitchen if you're just coming in. I did get a little bit of rest. My Maltese puppy done very good last night. He's doing better. I'm not sure what's going on. He just wasn't feeling good. So I had a pretty rough morning yesterday. Granny was in her PJs and her jammies. So as you've seen from my thumbnail, we're going to be talking about bread. We're going to be working on bread. And we're going to be doing our sourdough starter. So I'm going to go ahead and get my sourdough starter out. I took it out of my pantry. It's still covered in my dark cloth. And today's day 5. And if you go back to my last lives, I started with day 1, making a sourdough starter, and how we started one from scratch. And then I went through each day, the process, and in each day, you see my dark cloth. This was the last step. Each day I would cover it in the cloth and I'd put it in my pantry for 24 hours. And then the next day I would take it out. I'd come on and do a live stream and show you what you do next with your sourdough starter. Up until day 5, which is today. And today my sourdough starter came out of my pantry, covered in the cloth, and it is ready for the refrigerator. Look at this beautiful sourdough starter. Look at those bubbles. Just look at that. Very active. So this is going to be ready today for me to put this in my refrigerator. Now, today, I'm not going to feed my starter. I'm not going to do any discard. And it was up higher, as you can see, within 12 hours. And it's kind of come down a little bit, but I'm not going to add anything to this. This is now ready to be put in the refrigerator. So if you want to see how we got to day 5, you can go back to my lives. This week started Monday. We started the sourdough starter from scratch. We started it in a pint jar, using the pint jar. And then yesterday, day 4, I took it out of the pint jar. I really fed it and then moved it to the quart jar. And then today, it's ready for me to put into my pantry. Or into my refrigerator, sorry. And I placed this rubber band on there, which I moved it out of place. I put this rubber band on there yesterday because I wanted to see how much higher my sourdough starter was going to get. And it went over half the size. And then, of course, it's came down because I've had it out of my pantry. Within 12 hours, it had doubled. And I could have went ahead and put it in my pantry. So you can see it's kind of settled a little bit. But it is absolutely beautiful. See all those beautiful bubbles in there. Very active. And now I have my sourdough starter. I'll go ahead and take off my coffee filter. Hi, good morning. I'll go ahead and take off my coffee filter, let you see what it looks like inside. I just have the coffee filter and rubber band on it. And I want that step by step each day. So I'm just going to remove the rubber band and the coffee filter. And I have stain on my finger from yesterday. No, that's not dirt. I stained my finger. And look at that beautiful sourdough starter. Just look at that. Can you see that in there? Absolutely beautiful. So this is now ready for me to put in my refrigerator. It is active. It's a natural yeast. So I'm not going to add to this today. I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator. Before I do that, I'm going to go, well, I'm going to be moving this here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead. What I would normally do at this point, but I have some other tools here I'm going to show you. But I'm going to go ahead, what I would normally do at this point is I would take my lid, and you don't want to put it on tight. You just, if this is what you're using and it's a quart jar, you just want to put that on there light. Just enough so it can get air. You don't want to block that air off. And then you could put it in your refrigerator like that. So, this is ready for the refrigerator. The reason I use the coffee filter during the process was this allowed air to get into my starter, sourdough starter, and I knew that nothing could get down into this because I had it stored in my pantry, and I used the rubber band just to secure that on top of my sourdough starter. Now this, you can, if all you have is the quart jar like I have here, I just started off with the basics. I used the pint wide mouth jar to start it on day one, moved up to the quart jar yesterday. So if this is what you have available, you can store this just like this in your refrigerator and just put the cap on loose. Don't tighten that cap, and just store this in your refrigerator. And then when you want to make sourdough, or you want to make pancakes or biscuits, you have your natural yeast sourdough starter. Hi, Tammy. Hope you're all right. Dough looks great. Oh, thank you. So, this is your natural yeast for making any sourdough or sourdough biscuits or sourdough pancakes. You would just go into your refrigerator, take out your starter, scoop out about a half a cup or a cup, whatever you're needing, but never completely use all of your starter. And whenever it's young, like this is young, this is a baby. We just started it, so it's just growing. So this would be ready at this point to make pancakes or biscuits. But I'm going to leave this in the refrigerator until day 10, which will be Monday. Monday will be 7 days. Yes, so Monday we'll go ahead and try and make either some pancakes or my first batch of sourdough with a sourdough starter. So when you take out starter, make sure whatever you take out, you put back in. You replace it. And if your dough or sourdough starter is low, I'll usually come out and maybe put a cup in and then add maybe 3/4 cups of water. Stir it up really good and just let it sit on the counter. Take it out of the refrigerator, let it sit on the counter, and let it begin to become active. Other times I'll just go in and scoop, a half a cup or whatever I need directly out of the sourdough starter container, and I'll make biscuits or pancakes. And I've even made sourdough with the starter directly out of the refrigerator, so you can use that anyway. But again, it turned out absolutely beautiful. You can see how all those bubbles are in there. And you could see how wonderful and active that sourdough starter is on day 7. See it stretching away from the sides in there. So this is a very active sourdough starter. So this is, if this is what you have available, by all means use it. But, you know, just put it in there and just leave it loose. I'll just turn it enough to where I know it can bounce up and down. And that way it's getting plenty of air in the refrigerator. Now, I do have a bunch of other tools that I'm going to talk to you about today. So I'm going to move you over here. And I'm going to move this down so you can see what I'm doing. And here is some of the tools. Now, do you need these? Some of these you absolutely do need if you're making sourdough bread. So the thumbnail that I had today was that's not a loaf of sourdough. Now, that is a loaf of bread that I showed yesterday. And this is just made, this is my homemade dough. And I made this last week when I did my pan pizza. And I made an extra loaf and froze it. And then yesterday I showed how I took the loaf out and I put it in one of my cast iron bread pans, well greased, and I allowed that to thaw. I let it thaw, and then I shaped it, and then I put it into my cast iron bread pan and allowed it to rise. So since this is a whole week of fermenting, and I needed a loaf of bread, I went ahead and showed that yesterday on my live. So this was the extra dough that I had, and I froze it. I just brought it out yesterday morning and let it set and thaw. I shaped it, put it in my bread pan, and I baked it. So here is one loaf of my white sandwich bread, and that's the dough that I made on the live when I did the pan pizza. So that's one of the recipes I made with that dough. And then here is one that my husband absolutely loves, cinnamon raisin bread. So there is a loaf of cinnamon raisin bread. Well, it's a partial loaf. So I use this particular dough for multiple uses. I can use it to make my white sandwich bread loaf. I can use it to make cinnamon raisin bread. I use it to make the pizza crust. I use it to make homemade dinner rolls. I think I have 2 dinner rolls that are left over. It makes absolutely beautiful dinner rolls. So it's a multi-purpose dough. So I thought, since I was doing all this about fermenting, the difference between your regular sandwich bread and the dough is I used my bread making machine, and I just mixed it up on the dough sitting. And with this one, I used the bread machine yeast, which is an active yeast. It's a dry yeast. But this did its own type of fermenting. It was just a different type of fermenting. So this was one type of yeast. And then the sourdough starter is a natural yeast. It's not dried, it's natural. So you're going to need this to make your sourdough. Now, to make your sandwich bread, I did mine, like I said, in my bread machine on the dough sitting using the bread machine yeast. So you can use that. You can use any dry active yeast and make your sandwich breads. Same thing with making the cinnamon raisin bread. So these are made with a dry active yeast. So we covered that. Another thing I think it's very important is to have some kind of a reference, a book. And I think this one is very, very nice. You've probably seen it on my thumbnail. And this is by Bonnie O'Hare. And it is Bread Baking for Beginners. And this covers almost every type of bread that you can think of. And this one was $19.99. so it's not real expensive. And it actually covers, let me get to page 111. On page 111, it covers sourdough. So this takes you step by step and tells you, what to do, how to prepare it. And this is a very nice book if you're a beginner and you're just learning to make different breads. So I really like this book. And there's other books that you can use. But this one is really nice. It's really informative. And it's not real expensive. So I thought I would show you that and share that with you. And this is the book that I'm going to be using. And the recipe that I'll be using to make our first loaf of sourdough bread. So that's the book I'll be using. And it's Bonnie O'Hara. And it's very nice. I think you'll enjoy this book. So then I have a few more tools. If you're making sourdough, I started mine off using just a pint wide mouth jar, clean, sanitized. I used a coffee filter to cover it. And then I put the rubber band around to secure it. And then each day I would put it into in my pantry covered in a dark cloth. And that was starting the sourdough starter from scratch. So if this is what you have available, it's absolutely fine. Hi, good morning, Peggy. So you can start off with this. That's how we did it. So this is absolutely fine. And then yesterday, I moved that sourdough starter from that pint into the quart. I fed it extra. If you'll look at yesterday's live, I covered it again with my filter and my rubber band, put it in the pantry, and then that took me through to day 5. And you can see all those beautiful bubbles in there. And this is now ready for me to put in the refrigerator. So if that's what you have available, that's absolutely fine. You can also pick up a couple really cheap, inexpensive kits. Now this one has a little glass container for you to start your sourdough in from start clear up to storing this in your refrigerator. Now this does have the wooden lid with a seal. It has some labels, which are very nice. It has your white marker. Oops, sorry, puppy went there. So you can write on your labels. And it also has a really nice little thermometer that you can stick on there so you know what your temperature is in your house whenever you're making your dough. On this side, it would be like from 64 to 83 degrees Fahrenheit, and here's your Celsius. It comes with the rubber band like I used yesterday, so we'll be able to mark, like on day 5, we can mark with our rubber band like I did with my pint jar or quart jar, because we want to see that sourdough starter rise about halfway up above the rubber band. So you would mark this where your starter dough is on day 5. You put your rubber band on, and then you would look for it to double. So this is a very nice, inexpensive kit. This also comes with a really nice little cloth cover. So instead of using the coffee filter, you can just put your little cloth cover on your little jar. And this is your sourdough container. Your cloth would be used while you're fermenting it, getting it up to when you're putting it into the refrigerator. And then, once it's in the refrigerator, you have your lid. So this is a very nice little kit, and it's not very expensive at all. And it does come with your stir as well, your little stir, so you can get down in there and stir like I explained during the steps of making the sourdough starter. It was very important to get down in there every day and to stir it thoroughly to get those air bubbles going to start your fermentation. So this is a very nice, inexpensive kit that you can pick up. And I think I got this one through Walmart. So it does come with your black rubber band, your labels, your marker, your white marker to write on your labels. It comes with your little temperature gauge that you can stick on your side, thermometer. It comes with a nice little cloth cover, and it comes with a nice wooden lid. So that is a very inexpensive starter kit. If you're just getting started and you're not really sure if this is something that you're going to like to do. So there's a very nice little kit. Another thing that is a must, if you're making sourdough, whenever you're baking regular bread, you're baking it in a bread pan. Whether it would be your cast iron bread pan, like I have here, or whether you're using a glass bread pan, you would be using those if you're making your regular sandwich breads. But that's not what you would be using to do your sourdough bread. So sourdough bread has a lot more steps than just your regular sandwich bread or your cinnamon raisin bread. So this is what you'd be using to bake your sandwich bread in. And I baked the sandwich bread yesterday, and I'm not going to put it down in there because I have it greased. But I baked it in the cast iron bread pan. But that's what you'll need if you're just making sandwich bread. But if you're making sourdough bread, you're going to need a cotton rope proofing basket or proofing baskets. And these are 100% natural cotton rope, and they are Bannetons. They're called Banneton baskets. And this provides gentle support while wisping away excess moisture during proofing. The breathable material prevents sticking even with high hydration doughs, ensuring your loaves keep their shape. Each basket includes a washable cotton liner, a matching durable layer cover, adding charm and convenience to your baking routine. So you will need some of your Banneton baskets. And I'll go ahead and pull. This is just one set. And again, I think I ordered these through Walmart. And these are not expensive. And this is a nice little set. It comes with your 2 different baskets. And these are collapsible. So when you go to use them, of course, you're going to shape them back into shape. This one is if you want to make yours in a loaf. And you just form your basket. It comes with a washable liner. And these are called Need Ace. This is put out by Need Ace. And these are your rope. And they're cotton. They're very sturdy. They come with your washable liner for the inside, so you can wash those. And this helps to keep your sourdough from sticking to your pan or to your basket while it's proofing in the refrigerator. So there is the loaf basket. Oh, I didn't put the cover on. It also comes with a really pretty decorative cover. Hopefully I can do this without making a mess. My old hands just don't work like they used to. And it has a little saying on it. It says, bake somebody happy. Instead of make somebody happy, it says bake somebody happy. And that's a nice little cover to put over your basket while you're going through the stages of making your sourdough. So that is the loaf basket. And this one says, live, love, and bake. That's what that cover says. Very decorative. And they do come with a little packet in it there to keep everything fresh. They're nicely packed, and these are very inexpensive. And this would be more for your oval loaf, if you're wanting to make an oval loaf. And again, they're collapsible, easy storage. They come with the liner. It's a beautiful rope basket, as you can see. They're very sturdy. And then it comes with an absolutely adorable cover. And this one says, live, love, and bake. So you can put those on while you're proofing your bread. And you know nothing's going to get into your bread. And it's breathable material, and they are made for sourdough. So this will help you during your process of proofing and getting your sourdough ready to bake. So this is some items that you really will need to have. These are very inexpensive. Again, this one's gray. Says bake somebody happy. And this one is a brown. It says live, love, and bake. So these you will need your baskets, or something that you know is going to be breathable. These are made of rope and cotton. So that's one kit, and that is made by Need Ace, and I got those at Walmart. And then on the back it tells you how to collapse them. I like them because they're easy storage, and I live in a mobile home, and if you're like me, you don't have a whole lot of room for storage. So when I'm not making sourdough, I can just collapse these. I know I can wash these anytime I need to wash them, and everything is clean, everything's sanitized. And this is a very cheap, inexpensive kit, and I think, you know, if you're just starting out, this would be a really nice little kit. So I'm going to move that kit to the side. These are just some of the tools that you'll need for sourdough, because making sourdough is different than making your regular sandwich bread. So I'm going to move these off to the side. And then here is another kit. And this one's inexpensive as well. I'm thinking, I don't remember, I think I got both of these kits through Walmart. And this is the second kit. And I've left everything in the kit so you can see what all comes with it. Of course, you're going to need to cut your dough. So we've got that. And whenever your starter or whenever your sourdough is in your bowl, sometimes it's a little sticky and it's a little hard to manage. So they do send this nice flexible little plastic scraper. So whenever you're getting your dough out, you can get in there with this. It forms nice around your bowl, and this will help you whenever you're trying to get your dough all moved together, and it'll kind of help you to form that little ball. So this is a very nice little scraper that comes with it. It comes with a really nice dough paddle or stir or whatever you want to call it. And when you're making your dough and you're blending everything together, with the way they've designed this, your dough kind of goes through the holes and you're not just stirring your flour around and around. So it comes with a nice little dough stir. And this comes with 2 baskets as well. Now these baskets are not collapsible. These baskets are more like a plastic, or not plastic, I don't know what you would call it, but I'll have to look and see what the exact material is. But these are not collapsible, but they also come with their covers. And they look like they're muslin covers made out of a muslin material. And you can put your cover on and cover your basket. So they do come with a really nice cover as well. Or you can use that for inside your basket as a liner. And then cover it with one of the plastic liners, dough liners, to cover your bowl. So I would use this as a liner for my bowl. And then I would just cover this with plastic. So that's the oval one. It comes with a brush. So when you're putting your flour on your sourdough, of course it'll have a lot of flour, you can use your brush to help dust off some of that excess flour. This is a very nice little kit. Sorry, I have dogs and you're going to hear them barking. And then it comes with the loaf style. And again, it comes with your liner. And these are almost like a wicker type basket. That's probably what I want to say. And they come with your liner as well. And they're very pretty. They're a neutral color. And this looks like it's a muslin type material. They're very nice. But these do not collapse. So what I usually do is keep these in the box. And I just write on my box what it is and set it up, because I know that I'm not going to be able to collapse these. So these also come with your razor blade cutter if you're going to be cutting your design. And you can keep it in a nice little box that it comes in. And this is what it looks like without your razor blade put on. And you just slide your razor blade right down on that. It comes with a cover, so once you have your razor blade on there, you're keeping a cover on it so you're not going to cut yourself. And then it comes with a little pack of the razor blades, which I'm not going to open right now. But those are just razor blades. So when you want to design the top of your sourdough, because it needs air, So you'll be cutting a design on the top, and this will help you to do that. This will help you to cut and mark your sourdough top for your, it makes it decorative, as well as it, let me put those razor blades on the bottom. There we go. So it makes it easier for when you're cutting your little design and cutting your top of your sourdough bread. So I thought I would show that nice little kit to you. And it's not very expensive. It's, I think I got this through Walmart. And this basically has your basic tools for everything that you would need. So I'm going to go ahead and just put all of that back down in there. I just wanted you to see those are 2 kits. And those are both inexpensive. Now you can get another kit, which I'll probably be using whenever we actually make the first loaf of sourdough. And that kit has a little bit more in it. It has the enamel pot that you're going to be using to bake your sourdough bread in, and has a few more tools as well. So I'll bring that kit out, so I'm not showing too much today. So that's another kit. But if you don't have access to the kit, you can just pick up the individual pieces. I'm sorry, puppies are barking. I live where I have several neighbors. I can't wait to get moved to the new property. And I like to pick up different ones because some days I have a hard time with my hands, and it depends on what I'm actually stirring with them. I can get some that is more slender in the handle, and another one, if I'm having trouble, I can get a better grip on them. So you can get these individually. You can pick them up at Walmart. You can order them online. And these are absolutely amazing for when you're making your dough and mixing your doughs up and your batters up. So that's, if you don't have the kit, like I said, you can just go with using your pint wide mouth jar to start your starter, your quart jar to move it into for storage and for it to do its final rise before you put it into the refrigerator. You can pick up individual dough paddles. See, and there was something else. And then the coffee filter and rubber band. But the things that you do have to have would be your baskets. Because sourdough does require the baskets. So I like the collapsible ones. I can use them and just collapse them. They have washable covers. They have a washable inside lining. And they're not that expensive. And they're really cute. They're decorative. So when it's setting out on your counter, look how pretty that is. It's absolutely gorgeous. They're very cute. So they'll just sit there and look pretty. But you do need your baskets. And whenever you're making any kind of bread, whether you're making sandwich bread, like I said, and those are called, those are put out by Need Ace, I'm sorry. And it comes as a kit. And then it has really nice little instructions on the back. And those are very inexpensive. So, anytime that you're going to be making your sourdough, you're going to need something to stir it very well with. I started out yesterday just showing the basic jar. I just have a small spatula, And that's what I use to stir everything together. So you don't have to have all of this at once. But this is just an inexpensive way. If you have this small kit, you can start from beginning your sourdough from scratch. And this kit will get you through up to putting your sourdough in the refrigerator. So you do not have to go out and buy all this expensive things, but it does help. So I'm going to move that to the side. Now, when you're baking, like I said, if you're baking your bread, your regular sandwich bread, you're just going to be using a bread loaf, like I use to bake my sandwich bread. So you can use a glass baking bread loaf, or like I showed yesterday, I was using my cast iron bread loaf. And that's what I bake this sandwich bread in. So it depends on what bread that you're using. So if you're going to be baking that, you're going to need a bread pan to bake that in. And a loaf pan. And I also baked my husband's cinnamon raisin bread in the glass loaf pan, or the cast iron loaf pan. So that's one tool that you're going to need for making and baking bread. And I also showed this wonderful book, and this is Bread Baking for Beginners, and this is Bonnie O'Hara, and this is very, very nice. It will help you with your recipes. But if you're making sourdough, you're going to need a kitchen scale. You're going to be weighing things out. Once you get through the whole process of making your starter, getting it into the refrigerator, and now you've got your starter, and when you get ready to bake your first loaf of sourdough bread, you're going to be using grams and measuring by grams. So you can pick up, this is just an inexpensive kitchen scale that I picked up at Walmart, but you're going to need a kitchen scale. And of course, you're going to need a couple measuring cups, you know, because you're going to be measuring out everything. You're going to need, you know, measuring cups, measuring spoons, anytime that you're making any type of dough, because you're going to be adding salt and, you know, different things like that. Now, if you're messy like me, it wouldn't hurt to have an apron. And this is just an inexpensive little apron that I picked up at Walmart, you know, because you can make a mess, and trust me, I make very good messes in the kitchen. That I do. So if you don't want flour all over you, you can pick up an inexpensive apron to help protect your clothes. And this one I think I picked up at Walmart. I don't know if they still have them. And this is just a denim apron with just leather straps. So just anything that you want to put on that's going to help protect your clothes. If you're just starting, or if you're like me, and I've been doing this for many years, I have flour everywhere. Everywhere. So that's a few of the tools. Now, also, if you're baking sourdough, you do not bake your sourdough in the loaf pans unless you're wanting a loaf of sourdough. You're going to need, and this one's probably not big enough, but it'll be an example. You're going to want a Dutch oven. This is a small Dutch oven. This is probably not big enough to make sourdough, but it's just an example to show. And with this is the enamel inside, and you can see it has the little beads on the top. That is what helps it to naturally release moisture, these little beads. And whenever you put your dough in here, you're going to have it lined in parchment paper, and you will bake You'll put your sourdough in there once it's ready to bake. And you've marked it and designed it on top and got all those nice little air cuts ready. You'll put it in here in parchment paper. You'll put your lid on. You'll bake it so long with your lid on, and then at the end, you'll take the lid off. And then your sourdough will be ready. But you'll be baking your sourdough bread in a some type of enamel, or if I can handle this one's a big one, so let me kind of move you this away. Or if you have, whoops, cast iron. I'm trying to be gentle so I don't drop this. A Dutch oven that's cast iron. These are absolutely amazing. And you would do the same thing. You would have your sourdough on parchment paper, and whether it's a cast iron or enamel, you have to heat your Dutch oven first, and then you put your sourdough bread dough in to a hot Dutch oven, and then you'll bake it just the same. You'll bake it so long with the lid on, and then at the end you'll take your lid off. So any type of Dutch oven that you have will work. That one is made by, and it's a very heavy, made by Cooks. And this is we've had this for many, many years. And I absolutely love this Dutch oven. And it is big and it is bulky. So as long as you have a Dutch oven, whether it's enamel, you can even use the metal Dutch ovens that like has the little speckles on them. They're either black with white speckles or blue with white speckles. You can use that type of a Dutch oven. So these are some of the tools that you're going to need to see, was I missing something? This is just a few of the tools that you'll need whenever you're making and baking your sourdough. So the last thing I'm going to show you is one tool that I really absolutely love. And remove a few things here out of my way. And this I'm going to use for my sandwich bread. And I have trouble with my hands and cutting my bread and trying to get my bread even slices. This is a guide, and it has little slits. It's plastic on top. It's wooden on the bottom. And this comes out so your crumbs go in, and this catches your crumbs. And you just lay your bread right on your, this is called Our Daily Bread, and it's a bread slicing guide. And that's what I use to slice my sandwich breads, because my old hands just don't work like they used to. So I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands real quick, and then I'll show you how easy this is to lay your bread on there and to slice your sandwich loaves. Got a kitty coming through the kitchen this morning. Now, I baked this bread yesterday, and then I wrapped it in a towel. And then last night before I went to bed, I knew it was good and cool. I just wrapped it in plastic, because that helps me to keep a nice soft loaf of bread. So let me move this over here. And I'm just gonna, I'll be cutting it this direction. So first thing I'm gonna do is just remove it from my plastic, and I'll show you how beautiful this sandwich bread turns out. And this is using that recipe for the bread dough that I used to make the pan pizza on the pan pizza live last week. And you can see what an absolutely beautiful loaf of bread that is. So what I do is I just lay it down, and I'm going to just push that top right up there, right against this, and this is plastic, and it comes right off. And then I'm just going to take a bread knife, and I'll turn it here to the side so you can see. This knife will fit right down in these grooves. And this is like a slicing guide for me. And with my old hands, this makes slicing bread an absolute breeze. Then I'll go to my next one. And this gives you nice even slices. As you get older, your hands just don't work like they did when you were young. And what I'll do is I'll slice about half of this loaf, and then I'll remove that half. And this is so simple, so easy. And it gives you nice even slices of bread. And there's hardly any effort to it. Now this works for sandwich bread. This will not work for sourdough bread. This works for my sandwich bread, for my cinnamon raisin bread. And as you can see, look at that beautiful loaf of bread, and you can see how soft So I'm going to go ahead now and to show you what beautiful slices. Get it lined up there. Make sure I got it sliced all the way through. Look what beautiful even slices. And it's just like going to the store and buying sandwich bread. Is that not absolutely beautiful? So I'm going to go ahead and move this back. And I'm just going to lay it off to the side. And then I'm going to finish slicing the rest of my loaf. So these are just a few tools that I have, that I use anytime that I'm making bread. And it just makes it convenient for me. So I thought I would share a few of those tools. Now, do you need these? Absolutely not. You could, if you're able to slice your own bread. I used to be able to just slice it, and I didn't have a problem. But I have problems with my hands, and this just makes it so much nicer for me. And I know I have an absolutely beautiful, evenly sliced loaf of bread. And then whenever I'm done, what I'll do is I'll try and get them about even. Loaf size. I'll move this out of my way. And then I'll just get out a gallon Ziploc baggie. Depending on the size of your loaf, you could use a smaller Ziploc baggie. And I'll take half of my loaf. And I just slide it in to one corner of my baggie. And then I'll close that side. And then I'll just fold my baggie. This gives me a way to store this. And then normally what I'll do is I'll freeze half of my loaf because it's only myself and my husband. And then when I want the other half, I'll just go in and take it out of the freezer and let it thaw. And I have the other half of my fresh sandwich bread. So then I just kind of fold that over. I want to get as much of that air out of there as I can because I'm going to be putting this in the freezer. And that's a quick, easy way for me to store my sandwich bread. And then I have it ready to go in the freezer, and I'll freeze half and I'll leave half out. And I'll do that with the other half. And this is the dough from the pizza, the pan pizza crust that I made last week. It's the same dough, and I had that extra loaf, and I froze it. And yesterday I baked that into, let it thaw, shaped it, put it in my cast iron baking bread pan, and baked a loaf of bread yesterday. So that's how I store my bread. I don't have a bread bag. I don't use all of that. So this is just my way of storing it. I know it's already in the freezer bag. I can just put half of it in the freezer because it's only myself and my husband. And I know we're not going to go through a whole loaf of bread, you know, real quick. So that's just a few little tools that I've picked up over time that I absolutely love, I absolutely enjoy. So I thought I would share that with you. And I think that's all I have today. So, I hope that was informative. And hopefully I didn't overwhelm you. If I did and you have any questions, whoops. Sorry, I hit the button and turned myself off. If you have any questions, please send me a comment and I'll try to answer any questions. But that is bread making and some of the tools that you may want to invest in. And again, I'm just showing inexpensive tools. This is not an expensive kitchen scale. It's not an expensive apron. It's not expensive. These are, you can pick up at Walmart. They're really reasonable. And they do come in the handle sizes, lengths, and one is thick and one is thin. So if you have different things that you're making or mixing, you may want a thinner, longer handle, or you may want a short, thick. So you can pick these up individual. The kit that I showed you, which was very inexpensive, which came with your jar to store your sourdough starter in from start to finish. And it came with labels. It came with a thermometer, small stick-on thermometer, the black rubber band, labels, a white marker, and then the cover that goes on top. And it came with the wooden lid, and it came with your stir. So this is a nice, inexpensive little kit, and you can go from start to finish with your starter dough. And then I showed the other kit, and then of course I showed this absolutely amazing little book, the Bread Baking for Beginners. And this is again by Bonnie O'Hara. So I hope this was informative. And over here you can see behind me, when I started out my sourdough bread starter, I started it off with white wheat berries. I took them through my Nutri-Mill, and then I ground the soft white wheat berry flour, and this was what was left over. And the reason I used the soft white when I started my sourdough starter was because I was going to be making some banana bread. And when you're milling your own wheat berries to make flour, your soft white wheat berries are for your fast breads like banana bread and zucchini. So I went ahead and just started my starter off with white soft wheat berry flour. And then yesterday I went to the hard white wheat berries, and I did grind some flour. And I put the wheat berries through my Nutri-Mill, and it is a stone grinding mill. And I made this absolutely beautiful flour, and that's what I added yesterday on day 4 to my sourdough starter. And that was my final that I added yesterday. So today I'm going to be able to put that in the refrigerator. So that was start to finish on my sourdough starter. So I hope you had fun. If you've tried this, I hope you enjoy starting your own starter. And you can really see, hopefully you can see all those bubbles in there. Look at all that. Look how alive that is. It is absolutely alive. Look at all those big bubbles. And you can see it tear away from the sides. So this is ready for me to put into my refrigerator. It's very active. It's a natural yeast. Oh, and it smells good. And if you smell yeast, that's what you're wanting to smell. You don't want a really rank odor. This almost has a nutty smell like your yeast would have. And then I'll just put the jar lid on, and I just want it on loose. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator, and that will slow down any more fermenting. And this week we went from day 1, starting your sourdough from scratch, to day 5, and now it's ready to go in the refrigerator. So I hope that was informative. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you like videos like this, I'm just a small channel. I'm a grandma, and I am a great grandma, and I just enjoy cooking and baking and sharing some of the things that I do. And I hope you enjoyed that. So if you would like, go ahead and like and subscribe. And I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here. I do have my bad leg and ankle, so I try to stay on anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. And I have given you a lot of information today. I covered the 2 different kits for the sourdough. I did show you 2 different basket kits that you can get for your sourdough. This is the rope, and it comes with the washable liner and the cover washable. And this one says "Bake Somebody Happy" on the cover, and this one says "Live, Love, Bake." And these are collapsible. So I absolutely love these. If you have space, not a lot of space, and you need space saving, these are collapsible. The covers are washable. The liners are washable. And these are made by Need Ace, and they are a cotton rope proofing basket. And on the back, they have really nice instructions. So I hope I didn't overwhelm you today. If I did, you may want to, go back and pause. And then again, if you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I'll try and answer. So I hope I've covered everything, and I hope you enjoyed today. And it's Friday. It's the weekend, and we did it. We did this together from scratch day 1 to day 5. We've made our own sourdough starter, and now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. And as long as I maintain this, which I'll take you through as I'm baking sourdough, and I'll be explaining how I maintain my sourdough starter once it's in the refrigerator. and a step-by-step of how to keep your sourdough active, and how to use your sourdough to make pancakes and biscuits and sourdoughs. So, but anyway, we did it together. We went from day one, starting off with scratch, starting off with a pint jar, empty pint jar on Monday, to we have our active sourdough starter, and that is a natural yeast. So I'm going to hop off of here, everybody, but thank you for stopping in. And as always, I want to thank you for all your patience and kindness and understanding. You're absolutely wonderful. So don't be afraid to try new things in your kitchen. You know, I am learning, and I'm every day trying new things, but always make sure, no matter what you're doing, enjoy your kitchen, come in and have fun, follow the USDA guidelines, make sure that you're, if you're baking, cooking, fermenting, you know, whatever you may be doing, or preserving, if you're preserving meats or vegetables or fruits or making jams and jellies, always follow the proper USDA guidelines, and make sure that you're safe, your family's safe, you're not making anybody sick, and you're never too old to know new things and enjoy your kitchen. So until next time, bye-bye everyone, and thank you for stopping in, and I'll see you next week. I'm going to take the weekend off. Bye-bye everyone. Have an absolutely wonderful day. It's Friday. It's the weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy time with your family and your friends, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye everyone. Have an absolutely wonderful Friday.